Pain in the Amazon is not random. It was built by pressure, hunger, fear, defense, and survival. Every sting, spine, toxin, and venom system exists because something had to survive long enough to matter. A slow animal needed protection. A small insect needed territory. A snake needed prey to stop moving before it escaped. A hidden river animal needed one defensive strike, powerful enough to be remembered forever. This episode is about the architects of agony, the Amazon creatures whose venoms and toxins were shaped by evolution into weapons of pain, warning, paralysis, and control. The first sign is not always the ant itself. It may be the sudden break in the rhythm of the forest, the small hesitation in a hand reaching toward a vine, the quiet awareness that one tree trunk feels more defended than the others. In the Amazon, danger often announces itself with size, the heavy slide of a snake through wet leaves, the armored stillness of a caiman at the river edge, the flash of teeth under black water. Bullet ants work differently. They are large for ants, but still small enough to disappear into bark shadows, root folds, and the dark seams of a living tree. A single worker can move along the trunk like a piece of polished night, reddish-black, deliberate, almost too calm for something carrying one of the most famous stings in the animal world. It does not need to look monstrous. Its power is stored in chemistry, and chemistry does not care how small the body is. Bullet ants, Paraponera clavata, are creatures of humid lowland forest, where the air hangs warm and heavy, and every surface seems to belong to something else. Their nests are often built near the bases of trees, giving the colony access to both the forest floor and the vertical highway above it. From there, workers climb into the understory and canopy, moving through a three-dimensional world of leaves, lianas, flowers, rotting branches, and hidden prey. This is not random wandering. The forest is mapped through scent, memory, and contact. Ants read chemical information the way larger animals read tracks in mud. A branch is not just a branch. It is a route, a food line, a border, a place where danger has passed before. To the human eye, the tree looks still. To the colony, it is alive with messages. The sting is the reason most animals learn quickly. Bullet ant venom contains ponerotoxin, a neurotoxic peptide that interferes with nerve function and produces intense, lasting pain. That pain is not an accident of poor design, it is the design. Evolution does not reward waste, and venom is expensive to produce. So a sting this punishing has a job beyond simple injury. It teaches. A predator that digs into the wrong nest, a monkey pawing through bark, a bird testing an exposed worker, or a mammal brushing against a defended trail may not be killed, but it may remember the place. In a crowded rainforest, memory becomes protection. The colony does not need to win every fight with force. It needs the forest around it to develop caution. That is what makes the bullet ant so important to this story. Pain becomes architecture, not architecture made from mud walls or wax chambers or woven leaves, but architecture built inside the nervous systems of other animals. The defended territory extends beyond the nest entrance because the sting turns experience into a boundary. A curious animal touches the wrong trunk once, and for hours the body carries the lesson. Muscles tighten, the limb throbs. The nervous system keeps repeating the message long after the ant has moved away. The real wall around the colony is not visible, it is remembered. At ground level, the bullet ant's world is a place of constant negotiation. Leaf litter hides beetles, termites, larvae, fallen fruit, fungal threads, and the remains of animals already being recycled by the forest. Bullet ants are not mindless pain machines. They are foragers, scavengers, hunters, and participants in the wider economy of the ecosystem. Workers search for nectar and plant liquids, but they also capture small arthropods, bringing protein back to the colony. Their mandibles are strong and their movements are controlled, but the sting remains the final argument. Against small prey, strength may be enough. Against larger threats, venom changes the scale of the encounter. The camera would have to stay low to understand them properly. From above, the forest floor is a pattern of brown leaves and green shoots. From an ant's height, it becomes a landscape of cliffs, tunnels, roots, slick bark, and living obstacles. A fallen leaf rises like a roof. A mushroom stem becomes a pillar. A drop of water can distort the world like glass. Heat and humidity matter here. Insects do not regulate body temperature the way mammals do, so the forest's microclimate shapes when and how they move. The shaded understory protects them from direct tropical heat, while the damp air helps prevent dangerous water loss. Even so, a worker's body is always negotiating with the environment. Too hot, too dry, too exposed, and survival becomes harder. Their senses are tuned to a world most humans barely notice. Antennae sweep over surfaces, detecting chemical traces left by nestmates, food sources, enemies, and unfamiliar bodies. Touch is information, smell is geography, vibration can become warning. In a forest where visibility is broken by leaves, bark, and shadow, the bullet ant does not rely on eyesight alone. It belongs to a system where survival depends on reading the invisible. That makes its venom even more interesting. The ant itself gathers information quietly, but when threatened, it sends information violently into another animal's nerves. There is a brutal efficiency in that contrast. A jaguar needs muscle, stealth, and the power to finish a hunt. A caiman needs jaws, patience, and water deep enough to hide in. A bullet ant needs contact. One precise sting can overwhelm the attention of an animal thousands of times heavier. This is why pain has such evolutionary value. It interrupts behavior immediately. It forces retreat. It makes feeding, climbing, digging, or attacking suddenly impossible to continue. Pain is not just suffering. Biologically, it is a command system. It tells the body that something has gone wrong and demands a response. Bullet ants have evolved a way to hijack that system with terrifying clarity. Yet the ant is not invincible. No animal in the Amazon is. Colonies face parasites, predators, competing insects, flooding, disease, and the constant instability of a living forest. A nest that seems secure at the base of a tree can be threatened by waterlogged soil, falling debris, or raids from other organisms. Workers outside the nest are exposed every time they forage. Their sting is powerful, but it is not a magic shield. The rainforest is too complicated for that. Every defense creates opportunity for something else. Some enemies avoid the sting, some attack from distance, some exploit weakness, injury, or confusion. The bullet ant survives not because it escapes the rules of ecology, but because it plays one rule extremely well: make the cost of attacking you unforgettable. That cost shapes the behavior of the animals around it. A foraging bird may learn to flick away certain ants instead of swallowing them. A small mammal may avoid probing too deeply around a defended tree base. Other insects may change their routes. Even humans moving through the forest learn to respect where they place their hands. This is the hidden influence of venomous animals. They do not only affect the creatures they sting. They alter movement, caution, feeding choices, and the mental map of the habitat. A bullet ant colony is not simply living in the forest, it is editing the behavior of the forest around it. And that is why this chapter begins with them. The bullet ant proves that evolution does not always need a giant body to create giant consequences. In a place overflowing with teeth, claws, camouflage, and ambush, this insect built its survival around memory. Its sting transforms a brief mistake into a long lesson. It makes a tree more than a tree, a trail more than a trail, a small black shape on bark more than something to ignore. In the Amazon, territory can be held by jaws, by venom, by silence, or by numbers. But with bullet ants, territory is held by pain so intense that the forest itself seems to warn you, do not touch what you do not understand. The forest changes after dark. During the day, the Amazon can feel crowded in a way the eye can understand. Leaves layered over leaves, vines hanging like ropes, insects flashing through shafts of light, birds calling from somewhere the canopy refuses to reveal. But at night, the same forest becomes a different machine. Shape replaces color. Movement replaces scenery. The ground begins to matter more than the horizon. Every curled leaf, hollow root, rotting log, fallen palm sheath, and abandoned animal shelter becomes a possible hiding place, and somewhere inside that shifting darkness, the Brazilian wandering spider moves without needing a web to explain its presence. It does not wait politely at the edge of a trap. It carries the trap with it. This is what makes the wandering spider feel so different from the web-building hunters people usually imagine. A web is architecture. It turns empty air into a net, and the spider waits for vibration to bring the meal closer. The Brazilian wandering spider belongs to another philosophy entirely. It is a roaming hunter built for direct contact with a cluttered world. Its long legs lift the body above wet leaves and uneven bark. Fine hairs along the limbs detect air movement, touch, and tremors through the surface beneath it. In a forest where visibility can collapse into darkness within a few steps, that sensitivity becomes a kind of second sight. The spider is not simply walking, it is reading the forest through pressure, texture, vibration, and chemical traces. The leaf litter below it is alive with small decisions. Crickets pause under curled foliage. Cockroaches move through damp wood. Beetles push through fungus-softened bark. Frogs sit low beside puddles, relying on stillness and skin color to disappear. Small lizards sleep on narrow stems, bodies cooled by the night air, their survival depending on choosing a perch thin enough to betray the movement of a climbing predator. The wandering spider fits into this world as both hunter and threat, a creature that does not need to dominate the landscape by size because its hunting zone is measured in sudden distances. The space between one leaf and the next, one root and the hollow beneath it, one shelter and the body hiding inside. Its venom is the shortcut that makes that lifestyle work. A spider is not built like a mammal predator. It does not have the crushing jaws of a jaguar, the dragging strength of a caiman, or the heavy constriction of a large snake. It is a lightweight body of jointed limbs, hydraulic movement, sensory hairs, fangs, and chemistry. Against small prey, speed and grip matter, but venom turns capture into control. The bite delivers molecules that interfere with the nervous system, overwhelming the prey's ability to move normally. A struggling insect or small vertebrate does not need to be torn apart through strength alone. Its own nerves begin to fail the coordination that escape depends on. That same chemistry is why a defensive bite can become so severe for larger animals. The spider is not trying to eat a human, a monkey, or any large creature that disturbs it in the wrong shelter. But venom does not ask what the spider intended after it enters tissue. Some Phonutria venoms contain neuroactive compounds that affect ion channels and nerve signaling, and the result can go far beyond simple puncture pain. The body may respond as if several internal systems have been shoved out of rhythm at once. Intense local pain, sweating, changes in blood pressure, nausea, muscle reactions, agitation, and a frightening sense that control is slipping. That is the power of neurotoxic design. It turns a small bite site into a system-wide alarm. For the spider, this is not cruelty. It is insurance. A wandering predator lives dangerously. Moving through the forest floor means entering the territory of animals that can crush, bite, peck, or swallow it. Frogs may eat spiders. Birds may snatch them. Small mammals may disturb them. Larger arthropods may compete with them. Even a careless foot, paw, or falling branch can end the spider's life without ceremony. A powerful venom gives this fragile hunter leverage. It makes the body larger than it looks. The spider's real size is not measured from leg tip to leg tip. It is measured by how far its chemistry can reach into the nervous system of anything that grabs it. The name wandering can make the animal sound restless, almost reckless, but its movement is not random. Night hunting is an energy calculation. The tropical forest holds heat and humidity, and for an ectothermic animal, those conditions shape activity. The spider's muscles and nervous system depend on the surrounding temperature. Too cool and reaction speed changes. Too dry and water loss becomes dangerous. The humid night gives it a safer operating window. Moist surfaces protect delicate bodies from drying out, while darkness lowers the risk of visual predators. The spider uses the forest's climate the way a bird uses wind. It does not control the conditions, but it moves when the conditions make its body more effective. There is another reason darkness suits it. The prey also moves. Many forest floor animals avoid the harsh brightness of day and become active when shadows take over. That means the night concentrates opportunity. A rotting fruit may draw insects. A fallen log may hold roaches and beetle larvae. A bromeliad base may gather moisture, frogs, and the tiny animals that feed around them. The wandering spider passes through these zones like a patrol moving through temporary cities. Each night, the Amazon floor rearranges itself through scent and motion, and the spider follows the signals most useful to survival. When threatened, its posture changes the story instantly. The body lifts. The front legs rise. The spider becomes taller, more visible, more honest about what it is carrying. This display is not theatrical decoration, it is communication. A defensive posture can prevent contact before venom must be spent. That matters because venom is valuable, and using it on a creature too large to eat is not ideal. The raised posture says, in the plainest biological language, that the next mistake will be expensive. There is almost a dark efficiency to it. The spider warns first, which is more courtesy than the forest usually gives. Still, accidental encounters happen because the spider often uses the same shelter spaces that other animals investigate. In the wild, it may hide in leaf litter, under logs, in tree bases, or inside natural cavities. In disturbed areas, related habits can bring some individuals near human-made shelter, where darkness and clutter imitate forest refuge. That overlap is not the spider invading with intent. It is habitat logic colliding with human carelessness. A hand reaches into a dark space. A foot presses into hidden leaves. A shelter is lifted without looking. The spider reacts at close range because close range is where small animals run out of options. What makes the Brazilian wandering spider such a strong symbol for this chapter is not just the severity of its venom, but the way it reveals evolution's strange economy. A large predator invests in mass, muscle, bones, teeth, and the daily cost of powering all of it. A spider invests in precision. Its body stays light, its movements stay efficient. Its weapon is biochemical, stored in tiny glands and delivered through fangs at the moment distance disappears. That is why venom is such a powerful evolutionary shortcut. It allows a small animal to create consequences normally associated with much larger bodies. By morning, the forest softens again. Light returns to the leaves. Birds begin cutting the air with sound. The spider withdraws into cover, and the night's movements disappear under the ordinary beauty of the Amazon floor. Nothing about the scene announces what passed there. No web hangs like evidence. No large track marks the hunter's path. That is the unsettling truth of the Brazilian wandering spider. Its danger is mobile, temporary, and easy to overlook until the space between bodies becomes too small. In a rainforest full of jaws and claws, this spider proves that the most frightening weapon does not always need weight behind it. Sometimes it only needs legs, darkness, and a venom sharp enough to make a much larger body feel unstable from within. The branch looks harmless until the forest teaches otherwise. It hangs low over the damp understory, coated in moss, algae, and the thin shine of recent rain. Small beads of water cling to the leaf edges. A line of ants moves along a vein in the bark. Somewhere above, a tanager shakes droplets from its feathers and drops deeper into the foliage, searching for insects soft enough to swallow. In this kind of place, softness usually means vulnerability. A caterpillar should be one of the easier meals in the rainforest. Slow, exposed, full of protein, and built more for eating leaves than escaping death. Yet, on the underside of a leaf, pressed against green shadow, a venomous caterpillar turns that expectation into a trap. It does not flee, it does not threaten with teeth. It simply waits inside a body covered in consequences. That is what makes venomous caterpillars feel like one of evolution's nastiest jokes. They look almost touchable. Some are furred like tiny forest ornaments. Others wear branching spines that resemble moss, lichen, or dead plant fibers. To the untrained eye, they can seem delicate, even harmless, the kind of creature a bird should pluck from a leaf without hesitation. But the surface is a lie. Many venomous caterpillars carry hollow or brittle spines connected to toxin-bearing tissues. When a predator brushes against them, the spines can break or puncture skin, delivering chemicals that cause immediate pain, burning, swelling, irritation, and in some species, much more serious effects. The animal does not need to bite because its entire outer surface has become the weapon. This is defense built for a body that has almost no other options. A caterpillar cannot sprint through the canopy. It cannot leap away like a grasshopper, vanish into the air like a moth, or strike like a spider. Its muscles are built for gripping, inching forward, and feeding. Most of its life is a race to grow fast enough before something finds it. It must eat constantly, converting leaves into tissue, storing energy for transformation, and surviving long enough to reach the next stage of life. Every hour spent exposed on vegetation is dangerous. Birds inspect leaves. Wasps search for hosts. Lizards patrol branches. Monkeys tear apart foliage with careless strength. In that world, being slow is almost an invitation to be tested. Venom changes the invitation. It turns the caterpillar from easy food into a bad decision. A bird that snaps at the wrong larva may recoil, shake its head, wipe its beak, or avoid similar shapes later. A lizard may learn that certain fuzzy outlines are not worth the burn. A mammal brushing a hand or muzzle against a cluster may carry the lesson longer than the encounter itself. The caterpillar does not have to kill the attacker. That would be unnecessary and too expensive for a creature this small. It only needs to make the first contact unpleasant enough that the predator hesitates next time. In a forest full of choices, hesitation can save a life. The Amazon is full of these visual negotiations. Some caterpillars use bright warning colors, the biological equivalent of a sign that says the meal has terms and conditions. Others use the opposite strategy, blending into bark, moss, or leaf litter so well that danger is hidden inside camouflage. Both approaches make sense. Warning colors work when predators have already learned the code. Camouflage works when avoiding attention is safer than advertising a weapon. The dirty trick is that either strategy can punish curiosity. A soft-looking animal may be toxic, a mossy clump may be alive. A patch of harmless fuzz may be a field of microscopic needles. This is where the biology becomes more interesting than the fear. Venomous caterpillars are not separate from plants. They are shaped by them. Their food, color, chemistry, movement, and survival all begin with leaves. Some caterpillars may sequester or modify defensive compounds from the plants they eat, while others produce their own irritating or venomous mixtures. Either way, the plant world becomes part of the animal's defense story. A leaf is not just food, it is shelter, camouflage, chemistry, and battlefield. The caterpillar chews through plant tissue that evolved its own protections against being eaten, then uses that energy to build a body that other animals may regret touching. The forest is recycling defense through different forms of life. On a close branch, the scene is almost silent. The caterpillar feeds along the edge of a leaf, cutting small crescents from the green surface with steady jaws. Its body grips with prolegs, each movement slow but secure. Rainwater darkens the bark beneath it. Fungal threads lace the rotting wood. Tiny parasitoid wasps move with surgical purpose through the understory, searching for caterpillars not as meals, but as living nurseries for their young. That is the other side of this story. Venomous spines may stop a bird or a careless mammal, but they do not make the caterpillar safe from everything. Some predators and parasites specialize in getting around defenses. Evolution never gives any animal a perfect shield. It only gives better odds. The threat from parasitoid wasps is especially brutal because it attacks the caterpillar's future from the inside. A wasp may lay eggs on or inside a caterpillar, and the developing larvae can feed while the host continues moving and eating. In that context, spines and venom are part of a wider defensive arms race. The caterpillar's surface protects against contact predators, but tiny enemies may probe for gaps, avoid the most dangerous angles, or use precise ovipositors to bypass the outer armor. Even the most painful caterpillar is still a moving piece of food in an ecosystem that has had millions of years to learn how to exploit moving food. Some venomous caterpillars take defense even further by living in groups. A cluster of spiny larvae on one trunk or leaf can create a larger warning target, making the danger easier to recognize and harder to ignore. For a predator, one caterpillar might be a mistake. A mass of them becomes a problem. Group living can also reduce the odds that any one individual is taken first, a simple but effective survival trick seen across many animals. But group living comes with costs: more feeding damage on the host plant, more visibility, and more attraction to enemies that recognize the cluster as an opportunity. The forest never gives a free advantage. It always sends an invoice. Temperature and humidity quietly shape the whole performance. Caterpillars are ectothermic, so their activity depends on the surrounding conditions. A warm, humid understory can allow steady feeding and growth, while extreme heat, drying air, or heavy rain can change where they rest and how exposed they become. Their small bodies lose water easily, and many rely on the shaded moisture of leaves, bark, and dense vegetation. Even their softness, the same quality that makes them look vulnerable, is partly a requirement of growth. They are not finished animals yet. They are temporary bodies, built to consume, survive, and transform. The venomous spines are protecting not just a caterpillar, but a future moth or butterfly still hidden inside the plan. That transformation gives the whole animal a strange kind of tension. The caterpillar is not the final form, but it must survive as if this slow, exposed stage is everything. Its body is a bridge between egg and wing, between leaf eater and adult, between vulnerability and reproduction. Every spine exists because that bridge is dangerous. Every painful contact buys more time. Every predator that learns to avoid it helps one fragile larva stay alive long enough to disappear into a cocoon or pupa and rebuild itself into something completely different. This is why venomous caterpillars deserve their place among the architects of agony. Their pain is not dramatic in the way a snake strike is dramatic. It is not the sudden ambush of a spider or the puncture of a stingray hidden in sand. It is quieter and, in some ways, more deceptive. It hides in softness. It waits on leaves. It turns curiosity into injury and hunger into regret. In the Amazon, where beauty and danger often wear the same colors, the venomous caterpillar proves that weakness can be engineered into a warning system. It cannot outrun the forest, so it makes the forest think twice before touching it. The coral snake does not enter the forest like a monster. It appears almost too clean for the Amazon floor, a thin line of color moving through wet leaves, roots, and broken pieces of bark. In a world built from camouflage, it does something dangerous and honest. It lets itself be seen. Red, black, yellow, and pale bands break across its body in sharp warning patterns, bright enough to catch the eye even in the dim understory. But the beauty is not decoration. It is a biological warning system, shaped over generations by predators that learned, or failed to learn, that some colors are expensive to test. The coral snake is not trying to look dramatic. It is trying to make hesitation happen before contact. This makes it different from the animals that came before it. The bullet ant turns pain into territory. The stingray hides until pressure forces a violent answer. The bushmaster lets venom continue the fight after the strike. The wandering spider makes a small body feel enormous through nervous system chaos. The venomous caterpillar turns softness into a trap, but the coral snake closes the story with something colder. Its danger is not built around visible damage or immediate agony. Its venom works deeper, quieter, and more frighteningly. It threatens the command system itself, the connection between nerve and muscle, the body's ability to move, respond, and keep breathing. In the Amazon, where the forest floor is crowded with signals, that kind of weapon makes sense. Coral snakes are secretive animals. Many spend much of their time beneath leaf litter, inside loose soil, under logs, or moving through root systems where light barely reaches. Their bodies are slender, smooth-scaled, and built for slipping through tight spaces rather than overpowering large prey in open ground. They do not need the heavy body of a viper or the crushing strength of a constrictor. Their world is narrow, hidden, and close. A coral snake can pass through places where larger predators cannot follow easily, moving like a living thread through the damp seams of the forest. Its prey often belongs to that same hidden world. Coral snakes may feed on other small snakes, lizards, amphibians, and elongated animals that live in soil, litter, and low vegetation. This matters because prey in confined spaces can be difficult to subdue with force alone. A struggling lizard or snake can twist violently, bite back, disappear under roots, or wedge itself into a refuge. Neurotoxic venom solves that problem differently from brute strength. It does not need to tear the prey apart. It disrupts function. Once the venom begins interfering with normal nerve signaling, the prey loses the coordination that escape depends on. The body is still there, but the instructions stop arriving properly. That is the quiet horror of neurotoxicity. Movement feels like something simple until it fails. Every breath, every blink, every push of a limb, every turn of the head depends on communication between nerves and muscles. In a healthy body, these signals are so fast and ordinary that they seem automatic. Coral snake venom attacks that confidence. Depending on the species and venom composition, neurotoxins can interfere with transmission at the neuromuscular junction, the place where a nerve tells a muscle to contract. When that communication weakens, strength fades in a way that is not like ordinary injury. There may be no massive wound, no dramatic tearing, no obvious external destruction. The danger is that the body begins losing the ability to obey itself. For a predator, this is an elegant solution. For prey, it is terrifyingly efficient. A coral snake does not have to win a wrestling match against an animal built to twist and escape. It only needs to deliver venom and let physiology do the rest. The same evolutionary logic appears again and again in venomous animals. Why spend energy holding a fight when chemistry can continue the work? But with coral snakes, the effect feels especially precise. Viper venom often announces itself through swelling, tissue damage, blood disruption, and spreading pain. Coral snake venom can be more silent in its threat. The wound may not look as terrible as the danger behind it. That mismatch is what makes the animal so easy to underestimate. The warning colors help solve that problem before it starts. Bright banding is a form of aposematism, a visible signal that says attacking this body may not be worth it. Predators learn through experience, instinct, or avoidance shaped by generations of risk. Birds, mammals, and other hunters may hesitate when they see those bands, and that hesitation protects the snake. In some regions, harmless or less dangerous species mimic coral snake patterns, borrowing fear they did not fully earn. But this warning system is not universal or simple. The famous color rules people repeat are unreliable across the Americas, and in the Amazon, where multiple species and mimics may overlap, the only safe lesson is that bright bands deserve respect. Nature is not interested in making identification easy for humans. The coral snake's own behavior is also part of its defense. It is not usually an animal looking for confrontation with large creatures. When disturbed, it may try to escape into cover, hide its head, flatten or coil parts of the body, or raise and curl the tail in a way that confuses attention. Some species display the tail as a false target, encouraging a predator to strike the wrong end. That small trick reveals the intelligence of evolution without requiring intelligence in the human sense. The snake's body plan, color, and defensive postures all work together to buy one thing: time to avoid being killed. Thermoregulation shapes its movements too. Like other reptiles, the coral snake depends on external temperatures to power its metabolism and activity. The Amazon's damp leaf litter offers a shifting thermal landscape, cooler pockets under logs, warmer soil near sunlit gaps, stable humidity beneath thick vegetation, and sudden changes after rain. The snake must move through these conditions carefully, too exposed, and it risks predators or overheating, too cool, and its muscles respond more slowly. Its secretive habits are not just about hiding from enemies, they are also about living inside the right temperature and moisture conditions. The forest floor becomes shelter, hunting ground, and climate control at the same time. There is a strange restraint in this animal. Everything about it suggests danger, yet it survives best by avoiding unnecessary use of that danger. Venom is valuable. A defensive bite against a large animal is risky and wasteful compared with escape. The coral snake's first strategy is not to attack the world. It is to move through it unseen, feed in hidden places, and let its colors and chemistry prevent avoidable conflict. That is why it closes the chapter so well. It proves that venom is not one story. It can be pain, pressure, burning, swelling, shock, or memory. But here, venom becomes silence. It becomes the slow removal of control. By the time the coral snake vanishes beneath the leaves again, the forest looks unchanged. Rainwater still gathers in root pockets. Ants still move along fallen branches. Frogs still call from hidden pools. The colors are gone as quickly as they appeared, leaving only the knowledge that something bright and dangerous passed through the dark without needing to announce itself further. In the Amazon, survival is not always loud. Sometimes the most frightening weapon is not the one that tears, crushes, or burns. Sometimes it is the one that interrupts the invisible conversation between nerve and muscle until movement fades, breath weakens, and the body discovers that control was never guaranteed. The Bushmaster does not make the forest feel loud, it makes it feel watched. In the deep Amazon understory, where light arrives in broken pieces and the ground is layered with wet leaves, rotting palm fronds, fallen seeds, and root shadows, this snake can become almost impossible to separate from the forest floor. Its body carries the same browns, creams, and dark diamond patterns as the leaf litter around it, and when it rests in a loose coil, it does not look like a creature waiting to attack. It looks like another forgotten shape in the debris of the rainforest. That is the first mistake many animals would make. The Bushmaster is not designed to advertise danger. It is designed to let danger arrive too late. A large forest viper does not survive by wasting energy. In a place this humid, dense, and competitive, every movement has a cost. Heat is trapped beneath the canopy, moisture clings to the skin, and the ground is never truly clean or open. Small mammals move through tunnels under roots and leaves. Frogs call from hidden pockets of water. Insects chew through dead wood, and birds drop suddenly into the undergrowth to steal food before vanishing upward again. For a heavy-bodied snake, chasing prey through that mess would be a bad strategy. The Bushmaster's strength is not pursuit, it is placement, patience, and chemistry. It waits where a warm-blooded animal is likely to pass, then lets the strike do what the body does not need to continue doing. The Bushmaster belongs to the pit vipers, a group of snakes with a sensory advantage that feels almost unfair in the dark. Between the eye and nostril sits a heat-sensitive pit, able to detect infrared radiation from warm bodies nearby. In the rainforest, where a mouse or small marsupial may be hidden under leaves, heat becomes a second image of the world. The snake does not need perfect visibility. It can read warmth against the cooler background of soil, roots, and wet vegetation. This matters because much of the forest's real activity happens in darkness or near darkness. A rodent moving after sunset may believe it is protected by cover, but the bushmaster is not only watching with eyes, it is watching with temperature. That sense changes the meaning of stillness. A coiled bushmaster is not sleeping through the night's movements, it is measuring them. The faint tremor of footsteps through the ground, the scent of mammal musk in humid air, the warmth of a body passing near the strike zone, all of it becomes information. The snake's forked tongue samples chemical traces and delivers them to the Jacobson's organ, helping it build a map of what has moved nearby. Its body stays quiet because quiet is useful. In the Amazon, there are predators that win by noise, panic, and speed. The bushmaster wins by letting the forest come close enough to make one short movement matter. The strike itself is brief, but the real event begins afterward. Long fangs fold forward, pierce and deliver venom deep into tissue. Then the snake can release. That release is important. Holding on to struggling prey can be dangerous for a snake, especially when the prey has teeth, claws, or enough strength to injure the snake's head. Venom solves that problem. It turns a physical fight into a biological countdown. The bushmaster does not need to wrestle the animal into stillness. It can strike, withdraw, and allow the venom to continue the work inside the body, spreading through tissue and blood while the snake stays out of reach. This is where venom becomes more than pain. In vipers like the bushmaster, venom is a complex mixture, not a single weapon. Different components may damage tissue, disturb blood function, increase swelling, affect blood pressure, and weaken the prey's ability to move normally. The exact effects depend on dose, location, animal size, and the venom composition. But the strategy is clear. The prey's body becomes the battlefield. Cells are damaged. Fluid begins to gather. Blood chemistry is disrupted. Movement becomes slower, weaker, less coordinated. The snake is no longer touching the prey, yet the injury keeps developing. That is the terrifying elegance of venom. Contact ends, but consequence continues. For prey animals, this creates a cruel delay. The first instinct after a bite may be escape. A rodent may bolt under roots or into leaves, driven by panic and whatever strength remains. But venom is not impressed by effort. The same circulation that once carried oxygen and energy through the body can help carry the venom's effects deeper. The animal may vanish into the litter, but the snake has a way to solve that too. After waiting, the bushmaster can track the bitten prey by scent. The tongue returns to the air and ground, reading the chemical trail of the wounded animal. In this way, venom and sensory biology work together. The bite weakens the prey, and the snake's chemical senses help recover the meal after the dangerous struggle is over. This system is harsh, but it is not wasteful. Predators do not evolve for cruelty, they evolve around risk. A snake that can avoid being kicked, bitten, or scratched has a better chance of surviving long enough to feed again. The bushmaster's venom is part of that risk management. It turns distance into safety. It lets the snake use a short attack instead of a long fight. For a large viper living on a forest floor crowded with hidden obstacles, this is not just useful. It is survival logic written into anatomy. Even the snake's body supports this method. Its camouflage keeps it hidden until the right moment. Its heavy build allows powerful striking from a stable coil. Its head shape provides space for venom glands and the muscles that help deliver venom through the fangs. Its heat pits sharpen detection in low light. Its tongue and chemical senses help follow what has been bitten. Nothing about the Bushmaster is random decoration. The animal is a complete system, and the venom is only the most dramatic part of it. The real design is the way all the parts cooperate. Wait, detect, strike, release, track. The forest around it continues as if nothing has happened. Rain taps leaves high above. Termites work through a fallen branch. A frog inflates its throat beside a puddle left by the last storm. Somewhere nearby, a small mammal stops moving under the leaf litter, and the snake begins to follow the trail with slow certainty. There is no chase scene in the usual sense, no desperate sprint across open ground. The Amazon rarely gives its animals such clean stages. Here, death often happens under leaves, behind roots, in darkness and in silence. The Bushmaster fits that world perfectly. It is not theatrical. It is effective. Thermoregulation shapes its life as much as venom does. Like other reptiles, the Bushmaster depends on environmental heat to regulate body function. It does not burn energy the way a mammal does to stay constantly warm. Instead, it uses the forest's gradients, cooler shaded hollows, warmer patches of ground, humid shelters under debris, and stable temperatures beneath thick vegetation. This saves energy, but it also makes the snake deeply tied to its habitat. The canopy, the soil moisture, the leaf litter, and the availability of sheltered resting sites are not background details. They are part of the snake's survival system. Remove the forest structure, and the animal loses more than hiding places. It loses the conditions that make its biology work. That is why the Bushmaster feels like such a complete expression of rainforest evolution. It is not simply a venomous animal placed inside the Amazon. It is shaped by the Amazon's darkness, clutter, heat, humidity, and abundance of small moving bodies. Its venom makes sense because the forest is dense. Its patience makes sense because prey paths repeat. Its heat sensing makes sense because visibility is unreliable. Its camouflage makes sense because the ground is already full of patterns that confuse the eye. The Bushmaster is dangerous because it does not fight the forest's complexity. It uses it. And that is what separates this chapter from simple fear. The Bushmaster is not just a snake with a painful bite. It is proof that evolution can turn a single strike into a long-form survival system. Pain, swelling, weakness, tissue damage, blood disruption, scent tracking, and patient recovery all become parts of one strategy. The animal touches the prey for only a moment, then lets biology keep speaking after the mouth has opened and the body has withdrawn. In the Amazon, some predators kill by force, some by numbers, and some by surprise. The Bushmaster kills by starting a process that continues without it. That is the real horror of this snake. The strike is only the beginning. The river does not always look dangerous from above. At the edge of an Amazon sandbank, the water can seem almost gentle, spreading in warm brown sheets over pale silt, broken only by floating leaves, drifting foam, and the soft push of current around exposed roots. The surface gives very little away. It hides the slope of the bottom, the buried branches, the sudden holes, and the animals that have learned to become part of the riverbed itself. This is where the Amazon stingray becomes dangerous, not because it is hunting anything large, and not because it wants conflict, but because it has built its entire defense around a simple truth. In shallow water, invisibility is useful only until something steps on you. A freshwater stingray lying under sand can almost disappear. Its flattened body settles into the bottom like a living shadow, the edges of the disc softened by silt, until animal and riverbed become nearly the same thing. Only the eyes may remain visible, raised slightly above the body, watching through the dim water. Behind them, the spiracles draw water in, so the ray can breathe while its mouth stays pressed close to the mud. That detail matters. Many fish must keep water moving across the gills by swimming or by facing the current, but a stingray can remain still, buried, and functional. The body is designed for patience. Its survival begins with the ability to wait without advertising that it is alive. This is not weakness, it is a different kind of strength. The Amazon is full of predators that solve problems with speed, teeth, or ambush. Caimans along the banks, large catfish moving through deeper channels, river dolphins searching with sound and touch, birds stabbing into the shallows, and mammals crossing flooded edges when the forest floor becomes water. A stingray cannot outrun all of that. It cannot climb away. It cannot make itself armored like a turtle. Instead, it chooses the oldest defense in muddy water, become hard to notice. The disc-shaped body presses low. The color breaks into patterns that match sand, leaf litter, and shadow, and the animal turns the river bottom into camouflage. But camouflage has a flaw. It protects against eyes, not pressure. A hidden animal can still be crushed, bitten, or stepped on by something that never saw it in the first place. That is where the tail spine changes the whole story. The stingray's spine is not a decorative barb. It is a serrated defensive weapon covered by tissue that carries venom. When force comes down from above and the ray reacts, the tail can whip upward with shocking speed, driving the spine into flesh. The wound is not only a puncture, it can tear, it can leave venom deep in the tissue. The pain often becomes immediate and intense because the body has just discovered that the sand underneath it had a weapon. This is the brutal fairness of the stingray's defense. It does not chase a foot, a hoof, or a predator through the river. It does not waste venom on drama. The weapon is reserved for contact. The animal says nothing until the moment pressure becomes threat. In evolutionary terms, that makes sense. Venom is costly. Tissue must produce it, maintain it, and deliver it through a structure that can break and regrow over time. A defense like that is not built for casual use. It exists because the consequences of being stepped on can be fatal. The stingray's pain is not aggression dressed up as defense. It is the price of touching an animal whose best survival strategy requires lying exactly where other animals may place their weight. Around the ray, the river keeps moving. Tiny fish pick through suspended particles. Insect larvae cling to submerged wood. Snails slide over stones. Buried crustaceans shift under the mud, and worms tunnel where the water has softened the bank. The stingray is not only a trap for the careless, it is also a predator in its own quiet way. Its mouth sits underneath the body, built for feeding along the bottom. It can uncover prey by disturbing sediment, suctioning small animals from the substrate, and crushing shells or hard-bodied organisms with specialized teeth. From above, the ray may look still, but underneath, its world is full of taste, pressure, vibration, and faint electrical signals from living prey hidden in the mud. That sensory world is one of the most interesting parts of the animal. Stingrays, like sharks and other rays, can detect weak electrical fields produced by other living creatures. In water, where smell spreads unevenly and visibility collapses in silt, this sense becomes a powerful tool. A buried worm, a small fish, or a crustacean may not be visible, but its body still creates electrical activity. The ray reads the riverbed through signals that humans do not naturally feel at all. It is not just lying there blindly. It is listening with skin, pressure sensors, and electroreception, turning mud into a map of hidden life. Seasonal flooding makes that map change constantly. In the Amazon, water does not simply stay inside a neat river channel. It rises, spreads, invades forest, drowns trails, surrounds tree trunks, and turns familiar ground into temporary habitat. During high water, fish can move into flooded forests where fruits fall from branches and insects drop from leaves. During falling water, animals become concentrated again in channels, lakes, and shrinking pools. Stingrays live inside that pulse. The same shallow place that is dry or walkable in one season may become a feeding ground in another. Their danger to larger animals often comes from this overlap, when the hidden floor of the river becomes a crossing point for bodies that are not built to read the bottom carefully. As ectothermic animals, stingrays also depend on the temperature around them. Warm, shallow water can speed metabolism, digestion, and activity, while cooler or deeper areas may slow the body down. That does not mean they are simple creatures controlled by the thermometer. It means the river gives them windows of opportunity. A ray resting in sun-warmed shallows is using not just camouflage, but the physical conditions of the habitat. Temperature, oxygen, current, depth, and sediment all shape where it can safely stay, where it can feed, and how quickly it can respond when disturbed. The river is not background scenery, it is part of the animal's body plan. The irony is that the stingray's most feared feature exists because the animal is usually trying to avoid trouble. Its whole posture is defensive. Stay low. Stay hidden. Let the world pass over. But the Amazon does not reward innocence. A creature that cannot defend its hidden body becomes food, injury, or accident. So the stingray carries a weapon that makes contact memorable. The spine turns a mistaken step into a lesson written through skin, muscle, and nerves. It is not trying to dominate the river. It is making sure the river thinks twice before pressing down. That is why the Amazon stingray belongs in a story about pain shaped by necessity. Its venom is not built for pursuit. Its pain does not announce ownership of a tree like the bullet ant's sting. It belongs to the mud, the shallows, and the dangerous uncertainty of where animal ends and riverbed begins. In a world where invisibility is never perfect, the stingray evolved a final warning for anything too heavy, too careless, or too hungry to notice it. The river may look calm from above, but beneath that brown surface, the bottom itself can answer back.